Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Interact podcast. My name is Josh Haynam, co founder and CEO at Interact. Today, I am joined by Fab Giovanetti, who is the founder, and I said your last name mostly right, who's the founder and head teacher at the Alt Marketing School. Just have some excellent content on marketing and how to think about it, especially in this new kind of world we're in. So, thanks for being here. And I wanted to cue you up with a quick question, which is just like, okay, so if a business owner has very little time, which is shocking, no one, we all have so much time. But if we have very little time, where would you recommend spending an hour a day in 2026?
Love that question. So, caveat, I worked with lots of business owners before I started teaching, mainly marketers. That's who we teach at the school. However, marketers have the same issue. We ain't got time, and we are given, even if sometimes marketers are business owners, you might be listening and you're a consultant, so you cannot fit in the bill, right? And we all have that issue. We don't have time, and you want to make sure that you are dedicating that hour. That will be the thing. If you have one undivided hour, because let's be honest, we could cheat and I could say, I don't know, which I'm not going to, by the way, Reels or social or TikTok or whatever. And we find that realistically speaking, some of us spend time on any marketing platform, especially the social ones, like broken time, we tend to spend it anyway. So I think it's I want to make the most of that beautiful undivided hour that you could give yourself. I'm gonna go left field, and that's mainly because I wrote a book called Customer Driven Marketing Handbook. So it's not gonna be shocking that I'm gonna say something that is marketing, but it's not marketing, but it's all about marketing. To me, marketing is about relationship building, okay? Which means it's about building that journey, getting to know each other, and trying to tackle the objections, right? Answering the questions, understanding the needs. How will we know that if we don't talk to the right people? So to me, that 1 hour, if you spend that 1 hour, I'm going to say a week, I'm going to kind of slightly change it. 1 hour a week asking the right questions. And we'll explain why a week, not a day. Whether you want to focus only on customers. Sorry, I'm going to give you homework already. Don't hate me. Maybe you want to do a combination of customers and clients, but also partners and potential collaborators, right? You want to mix it up. I love that for you. If you do that once a week, and then we would potentially have 4 days. I have a baby girl at the moment, so I only have 2 days a week, right? So if I have one day where I do that every week, and then the other day, or 3 or 4 days, how many every day you have? If you spend that there 1 hour, the other hour that you can spend just either analyzing, organizing with tools like Interact, you can actually gather some of the data as well. But then just do something with the data. Then every week, not only you're asking questions, because one of my pet peeves is that we sometimes get a lot of things, right? It gets a lot, and then we do nothing with it. One, because we don't know what we're learning, and two, because then we don't take action. So if I'm cheating, but I'm saying every day build a relationship with your audience, but instead of saying every day talk to them, I say every day, every week, talk to them, analyze what you learn, and see how you can take action from it. Spread across 5 days. That counts as every day, at least for an hour, you're learning from your customers and you're actually doing something about it. How bad have I cheated, Josh? You can tell me how bad have I cheated about this.
Well, I'm biased because that's literally what we do at Interact. And so I'm like, yeah, that's correct. That's correct. And I think it also builds a moat around your business if you do that, because I guess the way I think about it is like, okay, if you have 1,000 relationships and then a competitor is coming in and trying to enter the space that you're in, it's going to take them forever to try to win over each of those 1,000 people. And like, people are generally pretty decent and loyal, I think. And so they're not also going to just switch sides just because somebody, came in and has a slightly lower price or, more flashy offer or whatever it may be. So I completely agree with what you're saying. The pushback that I hear all the time is it takes too long. There's always this perception of like, oh, well, if I just made a reel, maybe it would get 1 million views and then my revenue would go to 100K instantly. What do you say when people say things like that?
Well, I ask usually the question, what is your ultimate goal? And because if your ultimate goal is literally to make a 7-figure revenue, then of course you're sales driven, you're revenue driven. However, I'm a marketer. I'm like, sods, mate, as a marketer, I want to focus on the relation building piece, because that is going to build legacy, trust, and also overall momentum. I have to add the caveat for anybody else who is here today that literally our school is all about making marketing better for everybody. It's about marketing to hearts. So already from a value perspective, like for me, when somebody says that to me, I'm like, well, maybe you're not my person then. You know what I mean? But even if you are not my person, I still want to give you something to think about. If you're pushing back to me, cool. What is the ultimate goal? Ideally, the ultimate goal is to build maybe a profitable business that then you can, even sell, let's say. Even with that, isn't it more appealing, taking out all the value pieces that I just talked about? Let's go very basic. Isn't it more appealing to sell a business that not only is making that amount of revenue, but also that has lots of incredible, juicy data and understanding of their customers that then can make it future proof? Tell me. I think so. So even if we take out all of the actually being nice to people and building relationship bit, which to me and for many of our audiences is enough for good reason. We're building relationship, we're actually building legacy, we're building return and retention. Yeah. But if that's not for you, then I'm going to go with the basics. It's still more valuable as a business that has more data, more insights, because things change all the time. And that person that is focusing on like 50 different reels, it's fine for the virality, for the quick fix. At some point, things will change and you don't know why. And I'm not saying that you always know why when you ask the questions, but you have a better chance to start to learn what changed in your audience's behaviors or in your audience's needs, because you are talking to them. What do you reckon? Is it good enough as an answer for a pushback? I know it's a hard one, but
I think it is, because I think the real heart of the question that people are asking is like, I have to make money. Like, life is real. You have expenses, you have costs. You can't just do something on the side for fun, even if it does like feel better to do it that way. I think, especially right now, given like the state of the economy where there's just so much uncertainty. Like, you watch stocks, like public stocks, and it's like they have one weird comment and it drops by 20%. Like, people are so jittery. It's like almost unbelievable how jittery everybody is when it comes to money. And so I think that's the heart of it. And I think I like your answer there, because it's like, well, if you are wanting to not be on that hamster wheel or that roller coaster of like, oh, well, it could be worth this amount one day and then nothing the next day. Like, the best way to do that is just to build a stack of relationships, like build a whole pile of people that and they know you, and you know what they want. They know what you can help them with. And it's like a good connection. Like, everybody's winning from it. So
I love
I
that.
do think it's a good answer.
Can I give you a little note on the uncertainty piece? Because it's
Hmm.
very valid. And I entered the job market many, many moons ago. That's the voice of somebody that many moons ago. With probably was the second recession that I saw in my lifetime, or I don't. There was many, okay, and that's the first time I entered the job market. I was like, excellent, right? So I'm not diminishing the fact that they are there, they're valid, and they happen. And there's been a lot in our lifetime as our generation. I'm 35 this year. I should know this. 36 almost. So that's where I'm at. Anyway, what I wanted to say though is that even within the uncertainty, there's actually an opportunity which I want to give us, is the fact that we all, realistically speaking, when you look at the psychology, which is fascinating, which other people are better than me are talking about that, but we all buy from actually the heart. We all buy from the emotions, the beliefs, even if we don't think we're rooted in beliefs and we're like emotions, but the emotion is still behind the belief, and the belief is still behind the rational, sometimes excuses that we have. Again, smarter people than me have said that. I read all the books so that I could write a book about it. That's how I know, right? So especially with the uncertainty, that gives us the jitteriness. Not the jitteriness is that belief, that the struggle, that fear, right? So if you want to, going back to kind of trying to still make money in a very uncertain time, you want to understand those feelings. Now, what you do with them is your choice. I don't like to start with the fear, but I start with the opportunity. I start with the reassurance. I start with the helping, understanding where we can fit in. But if you speak to the logistical and if you speak about the features, probably most of your audience will know that. You're not speaking to the heart of it. But if you're speaking about the problems that are solved, the ease, the simplicity, the time saving, and why that matters, what it's going to look like to them, That's going to be even more valuable now than ever when people are really hard to parting with their money. That's one of the things that can definitely help them building that. So to me, it's another future proofing piece, right? Because then you can build with that and adapt it as their fears change or their needs change or their aspiration change.
I agree with that. I'm a similar age to you, and I've seen a number of these, and it does seem like it's this, when it's down, then it really does become about can you just solve the thing that I want to be solved? Like I'm not really interested in how you're gonna do it, just make sure it gets done. And then when we go up, then it does go to the other side, funnily enough, where it's like people are sold by like, oh, the bells and whistles and the fancy features. I don't know what that is psychologically, but I do think that what you said is spot on. Like when the chips are down, when people are feeling afraid, they just want to know that you can do the thing that they want you to do for them. And if you can show them that and then also build, I would say like a reassurance or a belief that it will actually get done because it sounds good, right? But then like the person has to believe that you can actually do it for them. That's an interesting one. Like, do you think that just comes from talking to enough people to be able to understand like how to convey that sense of trust or belief or whatever you want to call it, where it's like you tell somebody you can solve their issue and then they actually believe you?
So I am the queen of efficiency, and I've been even before I was a mom. I'm recovering. That's the word. I'm a recovering workaholic. So my second book was all about reclaiming time. Therefore, as soon as you asked me this question, I thought, well, we talked about one thing that I want everybody to do, right? Ideally, every day. So I'm like, can we actually use that thing to answer this question so we don't have to add more to our plate? Let's try that. I feel that, and I love the point that you made there because I think it's so important building that trust and just then getting people over that objection, over their skepticism, right? Which increases with uncertainty, I think, as well, right? If those conversations that you're having, not only you're learning what people love, don't love, issues about yourself, about your industry, whatever it is, all the questions, but also with the people that then are more loyal customers, with the people that you've been talking to maybe once before, some of these people you feel comfortable or you know that is the time to say, hey, I'm happy to help, but could you help me? Could I actually hear your experience with my product? Could you give me a testimonial? Could you tell me how things have worked? Then take that, which we all know is social proof, and I think a tool like Interact can also be a great way to start building some of that. Then you layer that with the language they actually use. And again, maybe some people from, again, here might have heard this before, like using their language, right? Some people might have not. So I'm just going to give us a bit of context. I mean, literally the words. It doesn't have to be all of them. You might keep a lot of the language that is of your brand, of your product, of your tool, whatever it is, right? But maybe you sprinkle in the adjective that really keeps coming back again and again and again. This is an extra layer to the social proof that most of us might know. So you might be nodding, be like, yes, Fab, social proof, I know. Hopefully, I gave you an example of what we are already doing, hopefully, every day, every week, and how we can build that request, that invitation for social proof. And then if you want to layer up a bit, you can then infuse your copy or anything with little sprinkles of that language. Or maybe you don't use that language, but it helps you banish some language that is completely the opposite. Because then you're talking to people that are not really seeing what you're seeing because you're using a language that doesn't relate to them. So it answers your question and it adds a little bit to it. But the language piece, I think, is also really important from a relatability perspective to really build that ease, not just the trust, but also the ease of feeling like you do get me, you do understand because you understand exactly what I'm talking about.
I agree with that entirely. And I'm just thinking in my head, I know the next objection that I hear from people a lot along this vein is how do I get people to talk to me? Like, I reach out to my customers. They don't want to just talk to me and give feedback. We've done a couple of things that have worked extraordinarily well, which is we just give free consultations. And then that way you're offering something first. And then in the last 2, 3 minutes of the call, you can be like, so, I have a couple questions for you if you're open for it, right? And then it's like an actual good trade. That's probably the best one that we've done. But are there any other ways that you've seen that done where it's like you make it worth somebody's while to talk to you and share? their language and their feedback and all that.
I think there's a couple of things. So first of all, I want to reiterate what you said. It's always important to make it worth their while, because any kind of exchange of value is still an exchange of value. So in a way, they are giving you some values. How can you make it as easy as possible for them, or as as valuable for them? I don't remember who it was, but we always share in our newsletter, like every week, we share like either a tactic or a fresh idea that comes sometimes from other people, sometimes just from the industry. And I don't remember the person that's far, there was, I would mention it. But there was a very interesting point they made, which was instead of reaching out, that's the simplest, maybe not as effective. What you mentioned, I think it's probably the number one that we do as well. A variation, I'll tell you that one in a second. This one is a bit less powerful, but I want to mention it, which is still as simple as the first thing you do is that either you ask them a question or you offer even just some help. So it's a bit, as I said, it's a bit less powerful. But instead of going straight for, hi, you've been here for a while, I haven't had an actual interaction with you or a conversation ever. So I'm going to ask you lots of questions, and or I'm also going to ask you for a testimonial. That's going to be hard, right? So the point that they made was to start understanding what will be the first thing that you can offer that just starts the conversation and gets them to respond, because then it's easier for them to return. To me, it's still not strong enough, but if you're just starting out and you just want to start to have these conversations, that can be great. It kind of reminds you that you don't want to start, they never heard from you. In my book, the first thing I say is you don't want to go to a first date with somebody and then at the end of the date you ask them to marry you. You wouldn't do that, would you? I would run for the hills, right? And this is how I see marketing. So that's how I see marketing. It has to be that kind of slower burn, and sometimes it's about having the patience. What we do that is similar to you, which is one step up, is we have a little merch, which I'm wearing right now and I wear all the time, like even hats and stuff. So we have a little raffle that we do because I'm like, well, if it's valuable enough, we always try to give a little something anyway. But on top of that, we also have a raffle. So if we want more of a structured testimonial, instead of gathering just some data or words or language, we do it like that. So that's another thing. Within that, the other thing that I'm going to say, there's a few more things, two more very quickly. One, look at comments, look at conversations you're having that are not necessarily one-to-one conversations. You can start seeing patterns there. That goes back to your weekly job of talking to people. It might be that it's more public in the comments of your post or posts that are relevant to you. And then the final thing is mining. Catherine Burgoyne from Why We Buy, so shout out to Customer Camp. She talks about review mining a lot, and that's where I got it from originally. But it's basically, and then other people talk about it as well. You go to competitors, people that do similar products, or even Reddit. The Reddit can be interesting, and just start seeing how people talk about products or services similar to yours. My top tip would be, out of these four, so the one that we use, simplest one, the comments and the review mining, I would say try an experiment. I'm a big believer in experiment. Try a couple, see which one is easy for you to achieve, easy for you to implement and try, and which one is starting to get some results, and then iterate. That's all literally everything we teach about the school, is taking action, as I said before, but also is trying a few things and committing to trying them. And then once you see which one works, but not just for them, also for you, because you have to do it consistently, you want to make it a practice. Again, a big answer, but I wanted to give us something tangible to go by.
No, I think that's perfect. I think it's perfect. I think this little, I think little in the sense of like accessible set of things to do and can make a huge difference in marketing. Spend an hour a week talking to customers, maybe 2 hours, and then the other 2 or 3 hours, if you have 5 hours, spend analyzing what they said, working that back into your messaging, your marketing. And when you approach people to ask them to talk to you, make sure you offer something of value first before you just go into asking them questions. There's a perfect synopsis of this advice. So thanks so much for that. Where can people go? Check out the Alt Marketing School, check out what you have to offer, your different channels, that kind of stuff.
So if you want to find out more about us and try some of our quizzes, which are slowly being migrated to Interact, little disclaimer there. So you actually get to see Interact in action again. We love those. If you go to allmarketingschool.com, actually on our Alt as alternative, you see on the homepage there is a little personality quiz, which again you can experience for yourselves, which is my favorite. So that's where you can find us. Alt Marketing School is where everything else is as well on social. And then you can find me if you have any questions on my website or on social at FabGiovanetti. If you're interested about just the book as a little bit of a taste, what I talked about is literally how I brought the book up. It's called the Customer Driven Marketing Handbook. So that might be worth a little read, little bedtime read. How fun. But yeah, I hope I gave you something to take action. I believe that practice makes progress. So just doing the thing will take you one step further. As you say, it's the tangible things that make a difference.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Fab. Appreciate it.